Oh, there we go. What's up, boys? So, I know you guys don't want to learn how to play this game, but I'm going to force it on you in the form of giving you a video of me goldfishing this deck. Normally there'd be another player, however, this is a deck that basically just combos, so it's very little interaction the opponent usually does before turn 3. So we're just going to play assuming my opponent doesn't really have anything to do. I'm going to use this to denote how many turns it's been. So we're on turn 1. This is normally my life total, but I'm not playing against anyone, so so for Magic the Gathering, start 7 cards. And let's see here. With this deck, this is not a hand that functions. So what we can do is take a mulligan. And mulligan is when you have a deck that's a hand that doesn't really do anything. You can shuffle up again, draw 7 more cards, and each time you'll lose a card. I'll show you how that works in a second here. Oh, by the way, this is my companion. So it's a Gigantha. He can be in my deck, just kind of sitting to the side there if I follow the companion rules. So none of my cards can have more than 2 of the same mana symbol. This is a slightly better hand, but I think I can do better on 5 cards. I will also be planning on sending you guys a shortened version of this so you can see what it's actually supposed to do. But I wanted you to see that this is random and I'm not just stacking the deck. Okay. Also an unkeepable hand. This happens a lot. So now we're mulliganing a 3rd time, so we're going to have to cut down to 4 cards. After we find... They used to just have you just draw less cards, but... Decks like these can function a lot better now because you also get to just kind of pick the best 4 cards out of 7. So this is the important card in the deck. So I'm going to take 1, 2. I'll take this because we need the green. And then since we're down to 4 cards, we're going to take a card that replaces itself, searches stuff up. So, turn 1, now we're down to 4. I'm going to play Urza's Saga. It gets a counter. It's also a land, so it taps for 1. I'm going to play the Amulet. That's all I'm going to do for turn 1. Usually turn 1s are not too explosive. So we untap for turn 2. This goes to 2. After 3, this goes and searches for a 1 mana artifact and then disappears. So we're going to play this forest. We're going to cast an Ancient Stirrings. So we're going to look at the top 5 cards of our library, reveal something, a colorless card, which just basically means a card that doesn't cost colored mana, and we put it in our hand and everything else goes on the bottom. So we look at the top 5. Now we were looking for a bounce land, but I'll take another amulet. Just hope we get there. It's not looking great at this point. We're going to play the amulet and then untap. This goes to 3. It's turn 3 now. This has an ability where when it gets to chapter 3, you can search for an artifact with 1 or 0, put it on the battlefield. So we're going to tap it for mana in response to doing that. Did I draw? I don't think I drew. 1, 2, 3, 4. Turn 2. We drew the turn 2. We drew. Yeah, that. So I didn't draw. Doesn't help, but that's okay. So this gets sacrificed. We have a mana floating. We're actually normally we'd search for another amulet, but since we are kind of in need of a bounce land, what we're going to do is search for, it's right on top, of course, Expedition Map comes into play. This allows us to tap it and pay 2, sacrifice it, go look for a land, reveal it and put it in our hand. So we're going to pay 1 from here, 1 from the mana we had floating, crack it. We're going to go search for a Gruul Turf. Now, the problem what we're presented with here is that I now have this in my hand. However, I have 2 5-drops. So, companion, you can pay 3 mana and put it into your hand as a sorcery speed action. So I'm going to show you how this works. Gruul Turf is a land that taps for a red and a green. When it enters battlefield, you have to bounce it, a land, and it enters tapped. So we play it, it enters tapped, and then we have 2 Amulet of Vigors, which untaps a permanent if it enters tapped. So it untaps, so both of these triggers go on. It untaps, we tap it in response to it untapping again, and we get 4 mana, and then we return the same land to our hand. And then we take more companion, put it into our hand. Now on turn 4, assuming we're not just dead, we'll draw a card, and it's an interesting draw. I'm going to float a green out. And then, yeah, play Lotus Field, which is a land that enters tapped. When it enters the battlefield, to sacrifice 2 lands. However, since it enters tapped, I get to untap it twice. So what we're going to do is tap it for 3 green. It untaps. Tap it for 3 red. And then We'll sacrifice both of the lands that I have. But we have 7 mana sitting here. So what we're going to do is spend that mana. We're going to go down to pay 3 green and 2 red to play a Timeless Lotus. Now, what Timeless Lotus is a 5 mana artifact that taps for white, blue, black, red, green mana, but it does enter tapped. So, Amulet will untap it. We make 5 mana, it'll untap it. We make another 5 mana. This gets to just kind of hang out there. So, we have 2 more red, 2 more green, 2 white, 2 blue, and 2 black. So then what we're gonna want to do is a red and a green, and then we need to use 3 more mana. So I'm gonna use 1 of each of these. Play Escape to the Wilds. So use my land drop available counter because this gets confusing. It's a very, very beautiful piece of art that I made here. So we spent 5 on this card. So it is 3, a green and a red. You exile the top 5 of your library. You may play them until your next turn. And then I get an extra land drop. So we're just going to let this land drop hang out here. And we're going to resolve this spell. Okay, so got some interesting choices here. So I have, because of my extra land drop, access to 4 more than what I see here. So I have 11 mana. Karn is 4, that takes us down to 7. Part of the problem is we don't really have a way to do anything with it right now. So I see another escape here though. So what I'm gonna do is pay 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Play another Escape to the Wilds. Float another extra land drop. We've got red, green floating. Okay. We hit an Explorer, that's pretty good. So we're gonna use the red and the 1 mana to play an Explorer, which draws us a card. And it gives us another land drop to play with. So Cement Growth Chamber was a pretty good pickup. Because blue mana lets us actually make infinite mana. And I'll show you how. So this is another bounce land. It's like the Cement Growth Chamber. It's like the Gruul Turf, except it's just different colors. It's green and blue. So what we're gonna want to do is use 1 of our land drops to play this. It makes 2 blue and 2 green because of our amulets, and bounces itself. So we have 2 blue and we have 2 green. We're going to use that 2 blue. Yeah, I think we're going to use our other 2 land drops to make 8 more mana. So we're doing it twice, and each time it makes 2 of each. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So now we've got 12. This returns to our hand. We're going to use 4 green to play a Karn. Now what Karn does is he's a planeswalker. which means he has loyalty counters. He starts with 5 loyalty. Activated abilities of artifacts my opponent's control cannot be activated, but it doesn't affect my stuff. There is a plus ability to turn an artifact into a creature. However, what we care about here is the minus ability. So -2, we choose an artifact card we own from outside the game or in exile, reveal it, and put it in our hand. So we are going to tick him down, go into our sideboard. We're going to get Filigree Sages. Now, what Filigree Sages does is it's a 2/3 artifact creature for 3 and a blue, and you can pay 2 and a blue to untap target artifact. So we're going to use our last 2 green and 2 blue. We're going to play the Filigree Sages. This is all stuff that we're able to play this turn or next turn. And we're gonna use another blue and another 2 to untap the Timeless Lotus. Now, Timeless Lotus taps for 5 mana. One of them is blue, so I can tap it to use 5 mana, use blue and any other 2 to untap it again, and I can keep doing that until I have as much non-blue mana as I want. Now, there's a couple of different ways I can win the game from this point. The good news is it's easy with this card. 15 mana, Emrakul the Aeon's Torn. It's a legendary creature, Eldrazi. He's kind of like a flying spaghetti monster. Can't be countered. When you cast it, you take an extra turn. And then it has flying and protection from spells that are 1 or more colors. And Annihilator 6. So Annihilator 6 is whenever it attacks, they have to sacrifice 6 permanents. Usually just ends the game if it turns sideways. But the other way that I can win is I can play this other card here. So when I play that, this one gets sacrificed because it's a legendary permanent. And you can't have 2 with the same name. And we activate this new one. And go get Walking Ballista, which it is a battlefield with X amount of 1/1 counters, and you can remove 1/1 counter from it, and it deals 1 damage to a target creature or player. And you pay the same amount of mana for each X on an XX spell, and since I have infinite non-blue mana, I can make it a 200 or a million, and just end the game, and also cast a 15 mana card that wins the game. Usually you'll get some amount of fight from your other opponent, but a lot of the cards in this deck dodge a lot of the usual removal. So that's my deck. Turn 4 win on a mull to 4, pretty likely. So I think that's pretty good. Just wanted to share that with you guys.